Let us back to our history class today. Today we are going to discuss one of the most important incident. That is the first incident in the history of India, especially during the time of National Freedom Movement. That was started and withdrawn by Gandhi. That is known as the first mass movement in Indian history, where that leader got the most important population or the majority of population of our India into that national freedom movement. That is what we are going to discuss today. We are talking about the important program that was introduced by Gandhiji along with another important two national leaders known as Ali brothers. We know that during the period of First World War and after, many political and economic changes happened in India and across. So we need to focus on the changes that happened in India during those times. We studied that lots of new political activities, new techniques, new satyagrahas, etc. started, launched in India, and all of them were very success under Gandhiji when he came back to India. So here the point that we are going to study today also launched and made success by Gandhiji by its beginning. That is non-cooperation movement. The word also used by Gandhiji early before he launching that non-cooperation movement. In 1909, Gandhiji wrote a book called Hindu Swaraj, in which he described about the condition of India clearly. That is, he understood one important fact that the common enemy of India, that is Britishers, are existing in our country only with the support that Indians are rendering or serving to them. So Gandhiji believed whenever that continuous service of the Indians towards British in any way, economically or manually, stopping, sure, there will be no scope by the Britishers to stay here for a long period of time. And Gandhiji believed that whenever we are not cooperating with the Britishers, it will be a chance for the Britishers to leave India and we will be able to attain freedom. So, just after First World War, when lots of problems including Jallianwala Bagh etc. taken place and was a great tragedy for India, Gandhiji thought about this new program that is called the non-cooperation movement. Not to cooperate with the Britishers and compelling them to leave our nation to their own. So, in order to practice or in order to think about or in order to discuss about these matters, Gandhiji firstly identified that how to non-cooperate, in whichever field and whichever group of people who can non-cooperate. That is what he already defined, that it can be lots of stages. Step by step need to stop cooperating with the Britishers. So, by the beginning, Gandhiji introduced or he advised the Indians or informed Indians not to cooperate with the British administrative system or should not give no any kind of services to the Britishers. And he advised or introduced, he informed the Indians to keep away or to keep a distance from every kind of civil services, police, soldiers or army or even schools, courts, colleges etc. need to be boycotted. Boycotting means keeping a distance or not at all using. And he also introduced one thing more, that Indians must keep a distance from the foreign or imported items, especially food or dress items or liquor. So, whenever we are not using all these, Britishers will lose a lot of source of their income from India. And as many of these schools, colleges or factories or police or all other services also are stopping by Indians or not cooperating by Indians, Gandhiji believed that all that functions also will be came to a lockdown. So that was the first stage of Gandhiji. And that was the first advice of Gandhiji to the whole population of India to keep a distance. That means non-cooperation with the Britishers. Through that, Gandhiji believed it will give a chance for the Britishers to leave India as there is no scope of services from the side of Indians. In order to get the support of all sections of Indians, Gandhiji and Ali brothers started to have a journey across India, especially in North India, and they described about whatever plans they had. And at last in 1920 December, in the Nagpur session of Indian National Congress, Congress also adopted the idea of launching non-cooperation movement. So, Khilafat and non-cooperation together started or launched in 1921 January. From there onwards, every group of people had their own. That means Khilafat movement had its own intention to be a part of a struggle, and non-cooperation movement also had its own intention to continue or to fight against the Britishers. Anyway, to get the support of all sections, that means including people from all social sections and the religious section, both these national leaders started to have a journey throughout India. So in 1921 January onwards, non-cooperation movement started to practice. And the participation of people into this non-cooperation movement also were different from different section. That means from lower section they have their own ideas or intention to be a part of this national movement. For middle class people they have their own aspirations and demands to get satisfied. And for different other group, that means religious or language, every sections of Indians had their own intention to be a part of this national movement. So anyway, 1921 January onwards, Khilafat non-cooperation movement was started. As it is a section of both Hindus and Muslims together, it came to be called as the first mass movement of Indian national freedom struggle under Gandhiji and Ali brothers. And there is a question that was the leader of Khilafat and non-cooperation movement, national leader of Khilafat and non-cooperation movement, that is Gandhiji. The important participants of non-cooperation movement in town or in city areas were the middle class people. And the most important strategy that put forward and practiced in the town areas were boycotting or picketing every of the British symbols. That is, the courts were picketed and courts were boycotted by judges and advocates of India. And schools and colleges also were left by Indian teachers and students. And all the other important areas, that is factory areas, also were left without having any workers from the side of Indians. And one another important area where they started to practice this non-cooperation movement was election. Provincial elections. Legislative assemblies were getting elected in different areas, and Gandhiji believed that need to practice the non-cooperation in that legislative assembly election also. But there was an opinion of a different opinion for some other groups of people. That means some other people, especially in Madras or in Tamil Nadu area, they were not willing to boycott the election. And a party called Justice Party under Brahmins in that in the Madras area were not ready to boycott that election because they believed that getting entry into legislative assembly will also give a power for Indians to oppose many of the decisions taken by Britishers. So, except in Madras, all other provincial elections were also boycotted by Indians, and it was almost in a kind of success in the beginning onwards. And another section also was that especially boycotting every of the liquor shops or foreign items, especially dress. Because Britishers considered Indian market as a chance for them to import every of their finished goods and also to sell it out and also to get their maximum profit. So Gandhiji advised Indians not to purchase British clothes or foreign liquors. So it was so common during those times that lots or large amount of foreign clothes were burned in public as a protest against Britishers. And liquor shops also were left without using or left without consuming by the Indians without having any chance to cooperate with the Britishers. So, by the beginning, schools and colleges or courts or factories or liquor shop etc. were closed down, and it was a chance for the Britishers to have a rethink what they will do, because many of the sources of their income is going down, and between 1921 and 1922, importing and the profit that the Britishers earned during those times was halved. And the value of their product that they got a chance to sell in Indian also were dropped into half. So totally the income that they got from India were coming down and down day by day. So the idea of Gandhiji not to cooperate with the Britishers were successful by the beginning. But just it was a short time success only, because as Indian schools and colleges were not common during those time, and as British clothes or Indian clothes were not what you can say much comfortable for, no, comfortable it is okay, but the expense is a little bit more, because Indian dress that is made in India, where khadi dress was there, it's really expensive, and it was not common and also not useful or not possible by the Indians to purchase, especially for the poor section of society, to consume or to have or to wear khadi, considered as a symbol of nationalism during those time. But purchasing that khadi was really expensive for the poor people. So they were unable to keep a distance from the foreign or imported clothes. So they started to go back again to British clothes and to wear it. So then schools and colleges also were lacking in India, because during those time almost all schools or educational institutions, court etc. were functioned and operated by the Britishers. So while the schools and colleges were left by Indians, the education system also had no any substitutions here. That's why without having no any other choice for Indians, again they opted to attend the schools and colleges of British owned one in different cities. So in cities or in towns, by the beginning, non-cooperation movement was 100% success, and it really gave an alarm for the British mind. But gradually, as there were no any more substitutes in India, without having any other option, Indians were forced to go back to their previous post. So let us discuss about what was the condition of non-cooperation movement in villages or in countryside. The idea of non-cooperation movement was so fast spreading from towns to villages. When the idea of non-cooperation was spread there, peasants and tribals were the most important participants of non-cooperation movement there. And the important center of non-cooperation for village areas were Awadh in Uttar Pradesh, under the leadership of Baba Ramachandra. And the common problem that the peasants need to solve as during this period or being a part of this non-cooperation movement was that they were continuously exploited by the taluksdars and landlords by demanding huge amount of taxes, or by compelling them to leave the place where they are living. That is called eviction, forcing a group of people to leave their shelter. And the poor people, that peasants, were forced to do a job like called beggar. That means doing a job without getting payment. So every kind of exploitations were common in village areas, especially on peasants. So non-cooperation movement gave an expectation for the village people to get a solution for all their sufferings. So number of different type of peasants group joined together, and under the leadership of Baba Ramachandra and Jawaharlal Nehru, an organization called Awadh Kisan Sabha was organized. It was an organization for the Kisans, that is peasants of Awadh area. And as the Kisan Sabha was so famous during that, and its activities also were so common and so famous, lots of branches of this Awadh Kisan Sabha was spread across the different villages nearby. So they demanded under Baba Ramachandra and Jawaharlal Nehru, lots of demands were there for the peasants to get solution. And in village area, what happened just after or while the non-cooperation movement spread, that by 1920, when the cooperation or the Awadh Kisan Sabha etc. started its non-cooperation movement so fast and so widely, some changes happened. That means people started to practice violence instead of non-violent non-cooperation movement. That means they started to attack the houses of merchants and traders, and talukdars were also continuously attacked, and the bazaars were looted, food grains were taken and distributed. And some of the leaders told to the peasants that Gandhiji had declared not to pay taxes to anybody else. And one another offer also was given by Gandhiji, that the area or the land will be redistributed among the local people. So, by hearing all this, people believed that the term Mahatma is really an expectation and also a sanction for all whatever actions that they have, if it is violence or non-violence. So, for villages, especially for peasants, it was a chance for them to show all their anger towards their nearby or immediate enemies, just like taluksdars and landlords. So, whatever possible methods that they could had practiced and made a little bit violence there. But talking about the tribals in that locality, especially in the South India and Andhra Pradesh area, some different types of revolt also happened as a part of non-cooperation movement. That is called the Gudham movement or Gudham revolt under their leadership of Alluri Sita Ramraj. He was the leader for the tribals in that locality. And what was the problem for the revolt of these local people, especially the tribal people in that area, were that Britishers made many more restrictions on the movements of tribals. We know that tribals are a group of people always having their full dependence on the neighbor forest, and they considered forest as an important wealth for them. And it was the people of tribals who protected the forest also. But when the Britishers restricted their movement, their cattle had no any land for grazing, and they were also not able to collect anything from the nearby forest area. So under the leadership of Alluri Sitaram, they were forced to come in front of Britishers in the form of different type of revolt. And moreover, tribals were forced to do beggar, that is doing job for a day or continuous days without getting any payment. So all this made them ready to fight against the Britishers. So as the continuous activities under leadership of Alluri Sitaram Raju had going on in that area, he was arrested by Britishers as he was a person considered as a rebellious leader in front of that Britishers. And he was executed in 1924. So peasants and tribals also had their own willings or wishes or their own aspirations to be a part of that national movement. Along with the non-cooperation movement and participants from the town areas or in villages, some other different group of people also had their own intention to be a part of national freedom movement. They were workers, especially workers in plantations. Lots of plantations were there, especially either indigo plantations or tea plantation. So it was a chance for the plantation workers to think about a kind of change needed in their life. And they also believed about Gandhi Raj will be soon as non-cooperation movement or the presence of Gandhiji is there. Gandhi Raj means a kind of Swaraj. Swaraj is a term that they used during those time. Every people used during those time in order to define whatever things that they need to get in their life. For peasants, it may be in the form of avoiding evictions and also to abolish that beggar, etc. Or for tribal people, it may be in the form of abolition of that forest rules. Or anyhow, every one of people had their own ideas about Swaraj. So plantation workers also believed in the term Swaraj. That means for them, the meaning of Swaraj is freedom to move from one place to another. Because during those time, Britishers had a rule called Inland Emigration Act. They were not allowed to move from the plantation where they are working. Even they were not allowed to go back to their home or not allowed to search a job in any other nearby plantation. So by this non-cooperation movement, workers in plantation, especially in Assam or in northeastern part of India, believed that need to get a freedom to move at least back to their home. And they believed that everything will be okay whenever Gandhi Raj or Swaraj happened. And when they heard about this non-cooperation movement, they also got a courage to avoid or also to deny every of the rules and regulations made by the Britishers and left their plantation and tried to escape to their home back through train. But on the way, as train strikes are also going on or railway strikes were going on the area, they were unable to reach their home back. So they were caught again by the police, British police, and beaten up. Anyway, lots of different intentions were there for people to participate in the non-cooperation movement. Anyway, Gandhiji believed that by not cooperating with the British, it will give a chance for, or it will make many more losses, especially in the form of income for the British. And that was success by the beginning also. But whenever situations were out of the control of Gandhiji or no, Indian National Congress, total changes were there. And when in 1922, an incident happened in 1922, February 5th, in the area of Chauri Chaura in Uttar Pradesh. A group of peaceful procession of people were starting or passing by in front of a police station, where the police started to fire upon this peaceful procession, and lots of people in that procession lost their life. So people forgot everything about non-violence, and they burned that police station. So it was a news that Gandhiji heard that people started openly or publicly started violence. That's why the idea of non-violent non-cooperation movement was not fully practicing in India. That's why in 1922 Gandhiji withdrawn that or cancelled that non-cooperation movement. So started in 1920 January and ended in 1922 February because of the different situations that happened or different events that were beyond the imagination of Gandhiji or International Congress. Anyway, lots of people participated and lots of people started to get a chance to come out of their four walls and to be a part of freedom movement of a nation. That such an opportunity was given by Gandhiji as he started non-cooperation movement. So, non-cooperation movement is considered as one of the most important incident in the Indian history, where it comes to be called as mass movement of India's first mass movement of India's struggle. Let us stop our class today here. We can discuss the remaining portions or another important incident that happened in India during the course of our freedom movement in the next class. So let us stop now. Thank you. Have a nice day.